chat. So a little bit about me. I'm Steve Gillaspy. I lead the Intel Rack Scale Design, also known as RSD, product management team. We're responsible for the roadmap, working with engineering, listening to our customers, working with our partners like QCT to bring this great technology to market. What is rack scale? Hopefully you've heard a lot of it already, but let me just reiterate. We're trying to innovate and transform the data center, how it's built, how it's managed, and how you can expand it. And we're doing it in a way where we can take pools of resources of compute, networking, and storage. This is all at hardware level, and we can, through open standard APIs, we can compose new systems on demand to be able to meet the workloads that we're seeing for cloud and scale out, and we can do this very quickly. And so there's a lot of advantages to this type of solution. And we're working with our partners like QCT to bring this technology to market. And so what I'd like to do is, first of all, introduce our panelists or the folks in the chat. Let me first start with Junji Arakawa. He is the Senior Manager of Storage and Cloud Technologies at NTT Communications. His team is focused on evaluating new technologies that will help NTT Communications build their business. And so we're going to hear from him. And then, of course, we have James Chow from QCT. He's the Vice President of Research and Development for all of the hardware engineering that occurs at QCT. He's been working with Intel for the last 3 years on RSD, and so we're very happy to have him part of our development. We've learned a lot over this time period, and so we're going to talk more about that. So first of all, let me have them come to the stage, and please give them a warm welcome. Great. Thank you. So let me start out with Arakawa-san. So I know you've had some experience testing the RSD 1.2 release that we did. Can you give us a little feedback on your testing and what you found and what you have experienced?
Okay. I had a chance to touch RSD 1.2. It's not the latest version. I know it's a kind of preview of RSD. I tested it, and I found some. It's not that mature. It's like top of rack switch is not covered, and storage is out of scope, and API it's seems like in the middle of development. But we successfully understand what's RSD and the concept with that test.
And so I understand that you were able to get a demonstration of the latest RSD 2.1, the RACGO R. That and so maybe tell us what you liked about that demo.
Yeah, it's recently I also had a chance to see a live demo provided by QCT Taiwan's developer directly, and it's actually completely different things from RSD 1.2. It's top of rack switch is covered, and disaggregation is much more implemented. Like so, storage portion is can be configured by API, and also a remarkable feature with RSD 2.1 is the virtual data center to accommodate multi-tenant into the one cluster.
Okay, well, I'm glad that we were able to make a lot of improvements. James, why don't you talk a little bit about all of the new technologies in this latest RSD 2.1 release, the rack Go R that you just announced?
Yes, 2.1, that's the latest version, which we developed upon the 90-inch standard rack, right? And the 2.1, in addition to the compose, decompose, or compute node, yeah, the last version, that's the preview version, right? So 2.1 got more features that also include the pool NVMe and the pool fabric source resources like pool FPGA. Though pool FPGA actually not defined by Intel yet, right? And also pool GPU. So we all include those in the 2.1. And also 2.1, also, we have our own top of rack switch. So we also integrate the PSME redfish into the switch. So the switch, the VLAN can be set automatically. And also, maybe later I will give you more in-depth introduction on those new features. But basically, yes, 2.1 is the version we are going to launch, official launch in next MWC in Barcelona. So that's a more complete featured version, So that's basically that's the.
Great, thank you, James. So Arakawa-san, what challenges is NT facing in their business, and how do you believe that Intel RSD could help?
Okay, I talked just briefly at the keynote. We have many services running on different platforms. That means we that different platform with different specification. So when we procure the server or storage like that, we gather all of the requirements from each department and organize those requirements to to summarize those requirements. And also, it's one of the difficult things to predict how many servers we need for the future. Actually, it's really difficult in this time because we have to deploy infrastructure fast and have to change quickly. But in current process, it's we really difficult situation to accommodate such a kind of flexibility. And with RSD, especially 2.1, it's now agile, flexible functionality, and we can speed up deploy infrastructure to accept each department requirement without planning deeply beforehand. And also, one of the things is it's based on open API, so we think we can avoid vendor lock-in situation.
Great. So James, why don't you tell us a little bit about what differentiates QCT's RSD implementation from what other vendors are doing?
Again, just I mentioned in this morning, our strength is one very unique position is we have network switch, compute, and storage. So on top of the RSD, we can make the network topology, mapping by automation. So through this kind of functions, we can do the VLAN, which is a must to create virtual data center, right? And also, those network mapping can be aided by automation. So if you change any cable, inside your rack, those new mapping will be updated by automation. This is very, very important for the operator, data center operator. The other example, like if that switch fail, you want to swap a new switch, right? So all the old settings are backup and can be recovered by automation when you replace the new switch. So again, the network switch function is a very, very key differentiation from our competition. The other one is like in this morning, we talked about a lot of AI. I believe we have the best optimized, platform for AI. We work with Facebook, Alibaba, blah, blah, those kind of CSP, right? So, and for the AI, not just the GPU, there are also other choices like FPGA, ASIC, like Nirvana from Intel. So we have full coverage on the different solutions. And also the AI workload are so different from the traditional workload. So what's the optimized configuration, like a node, GPU ratio, or the PCI bus, routing architecture? Where is the bottleneck, right? So potentially we need a different architecture implementation for different AI framework or model. So if we combine RSD and the AI together, right? So that will be very beneficial to the data center users. So I think because Quanta, we have so many different products, and we are leading on the AI architecture. So that's a synergy, big synergy to our RSD. I think that's a big differentiation from other competition.
No, and I think the beauty of it is the architecture allows you to compose the right resources for the application. So if the AI needs more Nirvana cores or more FPGAs, we can, through the APIs, be able to do that composition.
Yeah, the other point is we invest a lot on the software, firmware. I think our competition, they probably heavily rely on the third party, like a firmware vendor, right? But we are different. We, because we are so leading, we cannot wait, right? So a lot of things, we work with Intel and the stuff from the scratch. So that's also a big differentiation. That's why we can add a lot of, I would not say proprietary, I would say innovation feature to the, to our RSD. But, as Arakawa-san mentioned, you don't want to be locked in by vendors, right? That's one of the goals of RSD, right? So since we add the new innovation to our product, right? How we prevent lock-in? I think there are a lot of ways to solve this kind of concern. For example, we can consider cross-license with our competition, right? So that's from the standpoint of a customer, right? I think that's a win-win, So customers should not worry about those kind of log-in due to the innovation. Yeah.
Okay, Arakawa-san, what is your plan to implement RSD?
Actually, as of today, there is no specific timeline to implement RSD in our data center. But our top management understand what is RSD, and they also understand data center innovation is necessary things for us. So we would like, I would like to continue this research and evaluation with you and the QCT to see if this innovation is really useful for us or not. Yeah. So it's basically depends on RSD the future and adoption and its quality, I think. So.
Okay, by the way, I do have a, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I do have a question, I'm very curious, we all know Intel doing very good job on marketing, right? Promote their technology. So I'm curious, NTT, you decide to test the RSD. Is that a decision driven from the top management or from the bottom?
Yes, actually, I started this project. So it's my team's project. So I defined. So,
Okay.
but at the same time, I push those information and the test result to upper management. At the same time, they learn in some RSD concept from Intel other partners.
Okay, not just the instruction from your boss.
No. It's
okay. That's good.
both direction.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you both, Arakawa-san and James, for having this great chat. And I'm sure we'll be working closely together. We'd love to hear your feedback on the latest 2.1 and what we can do to improve. And I think for the rest of you, certainly you might be asking, well, what's next? What are we trying to do here? Certainly, we want to continue to innovate on the standards that we've been working, certainly around the compute and storage with Redfish and Swordfish. We've been contributing there, and those are very well established. On the networking front, we've implemented a lot of APIs there, but we're also trying to drive the community to have standards in that area. So certainly that's something to look for. And certainly around facilities management, when it comes to power and cooling and other facilities points, we want to integrate that within the product line. And in the terms of differentiation and how we disaggregate resources, we want to continue to add there FPGAs, NVMe over Fabric, so that we can continue to add more and more resources that are available for these emerging applications. And certainly around AI, as James mentioned, that's a up and coming and certainly very important area that we want to be able to meet those needs with RSD. So with that, I want to thank everyone for this Fireside chat, and looking forward to working with all of you on where we go with the technology. Thank you.